celebrity sometimes comes with, like, everybody wants to be successful in a celebrity and stuff like that, but it comes with, you know, bullshit sometimes, and, you know, that's the only thing that I hate about it.
Bryshere, yes, Gray!
She make that thing go.
I don't discriminate.
You are adorable.
Thank you, thank you. So are you. You're beautiful.
Thank
Come on,
you.
people.
I know a bit of your story. You were born, your single mom raised you west side of Philly. People say that fame and money doesn't change you, it changes everybody around you. Is everybody acting funny around you now? Oh my gosh.
I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party went on.
That's my young boy. See, this is what I'm saying. This is how we do. He says Uncle Will. He says Uncle Will. I know. We need to start right here. This is how we kick this thing.
So just when we thought Wendy Williams was done calling out shady industry executives for running the lives and careers of so many people, she just granted a rare interview right after the announcement of Clive Davis's demise. And baby, she had a lot to let off her chest. Wendy was one of the few people who were brave enough to call Davis out on multiple occasions when he was still on top of the game with enough power to bury her career. So seeing her do it again after his death isn't really that surprising. In fact, she blamed him for Whitney's addiction at one point, claiming that if he wasn't so focused on making as much money as he could from her, he would have put her life first and gotten her some help. Well, it looks like Whitney isn't the only one she had something to say about because, according to new reports, she is also now slamming for enabling the people who destroyed Bryshere Gray when he was just 17, and even protecting them for years so they wouldn't get caught. After all, whatever was done to Bryshere was just a continuation of a nasty legacy that passed on to the people who ruined Bryshere's life. Okay, so as I said, long before Bryshere came into the picture, Wendy was already one of Clive's biggest critics, especially when it came to how he treated Whitney before and after her death. Remember that one 2003 interview where Whitney went off on Wendy? Well, it turns out that the entire situation was way deeper than it looked. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was gagging when Whitney went off on Wendy because, baby, Wendy was doing a little too much, and she had to be put in her place. She was asking Whitney very invasive questions about her marriage to Bobby Brown, her substance use, money problems, family living arrangements, and even joked about Whitney indulging in freak-offs.
We're saying that you cut your mother's
See, you don't know what the
allowance.
You don't make me curse on the radio. I'm trying to be, come on.
Well, Steve was saying it was from about like $1,600 a week to about $500 a week.
Tell you to kiss my
Okay. He
and
also,
so can anybody else ever think I'd do that to my mother, you low down dirty thing? All right.
You are very defensive, Whitney.
I have to be, Wendy. You talk about me every day.
Well, Whitney,
every other day.
Whitney, you keep yourself in the headlines.
No, Wendy. Y'all keep me in the headlines. I mind my business. I try to maintain what I got. I want to know what I'm doing all the time. I don't give a shit about what you're doing all the time. As long as you're healthy and God is blessing you and you're doing the right thing and being a decent person, I can handle that.
But here's the thing, though. Apparently, Wendy was afraid that the industry was going to use Whitney's addiction to eventually end her once they were done with her. And that's why she was so hard on her. And I mean, this makes sense. When you take a look at most of the celebrities who refused to conform to Hollywood, their personal struggles were often used against them. And when they eventually die, their cause of death is usually linked to their addiction, even when the circumstances don't match. And y'all might not know this, but just like Whitney, Wendy also had a substance problem, and she admitted it several times whenever she was talking about Whitney. She was just talking about her just to drag her. She could actually relate to Whitney, and wanted her to get help before it was too late. In fact, during one segment, Wendy blatantly warned Whitney that her addiction was going to make her a liability to the executives who were investing in her career, and that if she didn't get her act together, they would be forced to get rid of her. At the time, Wendy didn't go into much detail about what she meant, but after Whitney died, everything began to make so much sense.
It's been many years. I can laugh about it now, too. It's the stupidest thing I ever did in my life, but I am familiar with every form of cocaine, and including crack and that whole bit. And I have to tell you that when I saw this picture right here, show that other picture of Whitney. I remember that girl, sweaty, hair in the face, grown. I remember that girl very well. I wrote the book and everything. and I can own up to my mistakes. Whitney, you need more than outpatient.
Yes.
Before, I don't believe you were sober on Oprah. Yep. I don't believe that you went into rehab voluntarily this time. What I do believe is that Whitney, because I was watching Inside Edition yesterday. No, walk with me on this one, okay? On Inside Edition, they said that Whitney just signed on for Waiting to Exhale 2. Well, you know what happens with these Hollywood people. You have to be insurable.
That's right.
You know, you have to be insurable and bankable. And nobody's insuring this.
Right.
So clean it up.
Now, unfortunately for Whitney, she didn't get the memo, and everything that Wendy predicted would happen to her ended up happening. You see, during that entire time Whitney was struggling, Wendy said she blamed Clive Davis the most because he seemed more concerned with making sure she was always on the go for the next show, for the next tour, for the next public appearance. But when it came to how she was doing mentally, that didn't seem to be much of a priority for him. And this didn't change even after she died. Because on the night she died, he still went in to have his annual pre-Grammy party in the same building Whitney died in, while her body was still in the building. Of course, Wendy saw this and dragged him for filth. She even invited him to her show and called him out to his face. But guess what? His whole defense for still hosting the party was that all the guests had flown in to attend the party, and he couldn't bring himself to cancel it just because Whitney died. Instead, he rebranded it as a tribute so he could still have the party like he wanted to.
I've made it no secret that I just thought it was in poor taste for you to continue with the pre-Grammy party when Whitney's body was still upstairs in the hotel room. Remember, Whitney passed away the same day as your annual party. Why did you go on and have the party? Just asking.
Well, you're a very small minority, because if you knew Whitney better, you knew she was not there to perform.
Yeah.
This was her favorite night of the year. She came out every year. This party was so part of her.
So you're saying that she
so
would
that the family, we spoke to representatives of Pat, who was a manager, and Gary, who was her brother.
Her body was still upstairs.
But we dedicated the evening. Whitney would have wanted this party to go on any more than the Grammys should.
And just as Wendy predicted, the victim-making machine didn't end with Whitney. In fact, it turns out that Clive Davis has taught other people, aka Diddy, how to make even more victims. And unfortunately for Bryshere Gray, he became one of those victims before his 18th birthday.
He was selected to be the demon that he is, to keep the culture in line so the industry could continue to rape it for all of its precious jewels. We have too many lost. Diddy was selected for this job. It's been going on before Diddy. See, people keep looking at him like he's the Sputnik that came out of nowhere. This is someone who was designed to be what he is. We got to stop making ditties. And if we're going to do that, then we got to go back. We got to go back to even further, the mentors of these people. Because Diddy was taught how to do what he does systematically, and Clive Davis has been his greatest teacher.
Now, when it comes to Bryshere, his story is honestly sad, and a lot of people feel like the industry completely chewed him up and spit him out. For those of y'all who don't know, back when Bryshere was still young and trying to make it, he was introduced to Will Smith and Diddy by his then manager, Charlie Mack. The whole point was supposed to be mentorship. Will was allegedly supposed to help him with acting, and Diddy was supposed to guide him with music. But baby, word on the street is that whatever happened behind the scenes was giving anything but mentorship. Jaguar Wright was one of the first people to really blow the whistle on this whole situation, and baby, she did not hold back. She called out both Diddy and Will, claiming that these so-called mentorships in Hollywood were allegedly being used to pull young talent into situations they never agreed to be part of. And then she took it even further when she brought up Bryshere and Meek Mill. Jaguar claimed there was an alleged incident where Will's neighbors supposedly heard screams coming from his house from Bryshere and Meek after an alleged freak-off session.
Bisexual, they do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bryshere Gray, left that house screaming. August's the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed the house.
Bryshere has honestly never seemed the same since that whole so-called mentorship. Because let's be real, if it was really mentorship, where was the guidance? Where was the career building? Instead, everything started going downhill. The promising young actor people saw on Empire slowly turned into somebody constantly surrounded by rumors, legal drama, alleged substance issues, and run-ins with police. For example, in 2022, he was arrested and later found guilty in an aggravated case involving a woman he was reportedly involved with at the time. And that wasn't even his first serious legal situation. Back in 2020, his wife allegedly had to run to a nearby gas station for help and told police Bryshere had put his hands on her and choked her until she was going in and out of consciousness. And when police showed up at his home, he refused to come outside, leading to a standoff that involved SWAT and hours of negotiation before he finally came out. In fact, when Bryshere was arrested in 2020 on those DV charges, Wendy covered it on Hot Topic. She went off on Bryshere for having the audacity to put his hands on a defenseless woman, and also slammed all the people who were supposed to be his mentors for obviously failing to actually mentor him like they were supposed to. And baby, Jaguar Wright came back again, claiming the only reason Charlie was able to hand Bryshere over to Diddy was that Bryshere's own mother, Andrea Mayberry, was in on it the entire time.
Say, Andy, I'm talking about Bryshere's mom. I'ma kick you in your and then I'ma go to work North Philly style. F*** you and Charlie. You happy now? He's a gay star. Are you happy now, Andy? For a book that didn't sell. I hope that new husband of yours leaves you. And maybe it's time you tell your son why his father is really in jail, his biological father, for all of his life and what you had to do with it. F*** you. You CI.
She also went on to allege that Bryshere was in talks with lawyers to file a lawsuit against Will and Diddy for what they reportedly did to him. She claims that Bryshere has been at this for a while, but he hasn't found a good lawyer to represent him yet, since this industry is actively trying to silence him. Jaguar even went as far as claiming that there is a secret tape of Justin Bieber, Will, Jaden, Diddy, and Bryshere having a freak-off, and she is one of the few people who has seen it.
See, they trying to slut him out so he'll feel too embarrassed to file his lawsuit against Diddy for what Will and Diddy did to him. With Jaden and Justin present, that tape exists.
Okay.
I really hope none of that baby oil was used on those kids. That would just be in bad taste. Baby oil on babies.
You can't say that the flavor camp was sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. You just come on. Come on.
Starting to sound that way, ain't it?
No.
All that talent, and they and she let Charlie tune that boy up on knowing that he was bipolar and had ADHD. What kind of mother would do that to her son? Turn him into a prostitute so you could pretend to be something more than what you are, which is nothing more than a filly. You're a big ol' they're making your son out to be, that's for sure. Because he didn't have no choice. You was down by all. I'm sorry, the Bryshere conversation for me is not easy. Because I came to Belial and I asked Belial to help me save the kids, and all he was worried about was his book. Nobody care about these kids.
And just when we thought things couldn't possibly get any messier, Will Smith's alleged former assistant, Brother Bilal, appeared in a series of interviews, claiming that during a trip to Chicago with Bryshere had a major breakdown and opened up to him about how Will and Clive allegedly used him, and then passed him on to other people to supposedly have their way with him. And remember what I said earlier about Wendy blaming Clive For enabling the system that made more victims like Bryshere? Well, Suge Knight seemingly confirmed what she said in a recent interview, where he went into details about an egg ritual that Clive allegedly introduced Diddy to. Apparently, this ritual was also performed on Bryshere. Those guys pull their pants down and bend over. They stick the egg up their hole. Their eggs break. They say they're not ready yet. They ain't put enough work in. This is Hollywood. Without attending those parties, it's hard to comprehend what happened. You know, hurt people hurt people. Someone was SA'd, they wind up being a perpetrator. I think it was done to him.
And he was like, you know. He said, you know Will raped me. You know Diddy made me suck his pee. You know what's going on. You know Charlie made me suck. And I said, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. So he crying, no blood is coming from his nose. Yes, you do. And I'm like, yo, look, Jada would watch at the houses. She had her laptop. She would stick her hard drive in, right? Boom, and hook it up to the TV. And she could play whatever video she watching. So I'm seeing videos of her and Will and a bunch of some celebrities, everything. Because remember, the last interview I told you, if you don't sue me, I'm gonna let people know who you've been hitting with them. And I said, if you don't sue, I'm going to sue. So I told you, being Muslim, whatever I say I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do, period. And I got to have evidence. So she's sitting down here watching, playing with herself, high as a kite, right? Not caring who's in the house, whether kids watching, nothing. She's in her own world. So that's how I was able to see the tapes. I saw them, and I saw some things that were unreal, and I saw celebrities on the tape.
Ooh.
I'm under penalty of perjury. If anything in here is a lie, my ass going to jail, period. There's no if, there's no ends, there's no buts. You know what you and Diddy was doing together in y'all younger years. All that's coming out.
Who else did you see allegedly on the tapes?
Tyrese with Will and Jada. Then the one with Charlie Mack and Will. Jada's not on it, but you can hear her say, make him spit up, period. So when these tapes come out, people will know I'm telling the absolute truth.
Allegedly.
So it's time for everybody that got a credible story, I should say, to start the process.
One person said, yes, it's common knowledge that Wild Wild West Will and Diddy destroyed that young boy's life. It's a crying shame. When will people wise up to this celebrity's foolishness? The price of fame is great, and if you don't have the right people around you, you are the prey. Another person said, I believe this, and after they finish, they ruined him so nobody won't believe what they did to him. But now I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Bryshere Wendy going off about all this now? And do you really think really had something to do with what happened to Bryshere? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to click here to watch this other messy video.